We'll do that. And you're coming in loud and clear, so if anytime you need to speak up, we can hear you very, very well. Very good, whatever the right terminology is. And we are streaming. So check your tie, Lee. That's certainly straight.
Yeah, I actually do have a tie on. Actually, yes, you're scaring me to death with it. Yeah, it was kind of slick out there before it was going. Yeah, that was kind of strange.
All right.
Got a couple minutes yet, or a long minute.
Yeah.
I was babysitting.
Exhausting.
Not used to that anymore.
Oh, they just don't give up either, do they?
Nope.
Little Energizer bunnies they are. You know why children are born at the young, don't you?
Exactly. There's a reason.
Yeah. However, there's a lot of times I wish I had my grandkids could skip my kids. Yeah, if I'd known it like that, I'd have done it sooner.
That's true too.
Well, grandkids, you can leave and come home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're great though.
And on the high note of the week is that 13-year-old girl from
Yes.
Wisconsin that was homesick.
Isn't that wonderful that that she got
Yeah.
away from that individual?
Okay, 9 o'clock.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9 a.m., January 15th, and Tuesday morning, and welcome to the weekly Cottington County Board of Directors Cottington County Board of Commissioners weekly meeting. We'll get it right yet. We'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Troy, you want to lead us? Sure thing. Next.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Troy. A couple of housekeeping chores as usual. This meeting is being streamed. If you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. If you do get a call during the meeting, please step out into the rotunda area to take the call so you don't disrupt the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience this morning that would like to address the board with an issue that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, is there any items on the agenda that the board might consider a conflict of interest? We would like you to make mention of that now. Hearing none, we'll
Make
go
a
on then.
motion to approve.
And I have a motion by Hatton to
agenda.
approve the agenda.
Second.
And a motion by Troy. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate. Well, we better, by the way, Lee Gable is not in presence at the meeting. He is on the telephone with us, so he'll be participating in the meeting today via the telephone. So we'll have to call for all of the votes. So that being said, you want to call the vote?
Well, I think we can take the vote here and then we call for leads. So all in favor, signify
All in favor
by-
indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And Lee?
Aye.
There we go.
Motion carries.
Let's do it that
That's a
way.
good way to do that. We'll speed up the meeting that
Yes.
way. All right, let's go to number 4. Let's approve the minutes of
Move
the
to
January
approve
8th
as
meeting. We have a
emailed.
motion by Hatton, a second by
Second.
Harley. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's go on item number 5 then, the monthly reports, and Cindy, you're up.
We have, tax notices have been run and mailed out. We are getting a few questions from property owners. Primarily, the questions have to do with districts that have opted out of the tax freeze. We have a couple of school districts that have opted out, and people are they just have questions wondering how the opt-out applies to their property and that type of thing.
Who are those districts? Do you know?
In Cottington, the Waverly School District and the Henry School District have
Waverly and
opted
Henry.
out. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
if we get questions from any of those residents, then we'll know.
Yes, yep.
Okay,
We also have worked on getting 2018 cleared out of our computer system so we can begin working on 2019. We have a program that moves everything from 2018 into a separate file, so we continue to work on that while we are working on getting the new year up and running. So basically, that's what we're doing right now, just for beginning of the year things, reports, annual report will get started, routine things.
okay, any questions for Cindy? Seeing none, number B is facility manager, Milo. I have does he have a written report?
Yeah, it's in your
It's
packet.
in the packet, I thought he said. I've been in communication with him. He is not here today. He, by the way, is in Rochester today, but yesterday, and he's there for a few days for some tests, so that's why he's not here today. But go to your packet.
Oh, it should be, go back this way, it should be one of the first things that was in your packet.
Oh. Thought I saw it earlier. Here we go.
No, that's
No, that's
not
not
it.
it.
Shoot, it should have been,
I didn't notice it.
you know what, maybe I didn't get it in. Maybe he
think
may
it
not have
was.
turned it in to me before he left, so I'll let Myron read the
All
one
right,
he gave
I'll
me.
read it. Here's the facility manager's report. The Ag Building, we have had the highway shop on site removing snow from the parking lot in preparation for the farm show. The livestock barn setup has been completed for the farm show. The fire alarm system has been temporarily disabled due to an accident by the alarm contractor during an inspection. Thank you. I expect that to be up and running again very soon. The courthouse, the new courtroom should be ready for occupancy near the end of the month. We have had several discussions concerning the security update, and I am hoping that we'll be ready to go into operation by the end of the month also. However,
That, I
that
think that
may be an optimistic view. There's a typo, it says, however, hat. And so however, that may be optimistic. By the way, I would encourage all the commissioners or anyone, well, commissioners especially, just stick your head in the door down there of the new courtroom, and it's certainly looking like a courtroom. It's coming together very nicely. Looks good. Over at the detention center, maintenance staff is almost back to normal. So far, we have not had to hire any temporary help. The sheriff is working on adding in an additional restroom for the UA testing purpose. As you remember, we okayed that a while back. Any questions on that should be directed to him. We did have water infiltration into the emergency management office area during the great blizzard in December. Some ceiling tiles were lost, but that seemed to be the only damage. I believe the water came from the snow melt off vehicles being brought into the Sallyport area, which plugged the floor drain with sand, gravel. We're unable to locate the source of the leak through the floor. Memorial Park, it's closed. We are slowly continuing to work on the basement area of the house as I feel up to it, and that's about it for the month. So thank you, Milo, for the hard copy report. And we wish him well, and keep him in your prayers, everyone, as he goes through his tests in Rochester this week. All right, the Highway Department, Rick is with us. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
And when Rick is up here, we're going to keep him. I think we got him for 6, 7, and 8 as well.
Well, there's not a lot to report this.
Turn your mic on there.
There's not a lot to report this month. other than January 1st, we all got to work to plow snow and sand. The motor graders went out. There was a few roads that had snow on it. Main thing was ice. We worked 9 hours New Year's Day sanding. The worst part was on the east part of the county. They didn't have quite as much snow, and what snow they had, just the wind just made it perfect for ice skating. Because we had to chain our trucks out. It was that they couldn't stay on the road. It was bad. I hadn't seen that for quite a while. So, but we got that taken care of, and then Mother Nature helped us out a little bit when the sun came out. The guys are just busy working on stuff that got put on the back burner from earlier in the summer and the fall, and getting stuff ready to go for this summer. They're out cutting trees now, and there are places that they can get into. Some ditches are full of snow, so we won't be able to get in there. We also hauled de-icing sand for the city. We hauled that from Dunnick's into the city shop so they can mix it with their salt and stuff and put in their building. I'd sent a letter to Brittany Bruce, the bill that we got from Banner. We went and looked at tower approaches to see how they played out, if any needed to be moved one way or the other, and we had a few that had some issues that they were willing to work with us on. And she has the bill, so
And she's with who?
NextEra.
NextEra, okay.
Yep. We also moved snow at the courthouse and the ag building, like Milo said. And other than that, we're just preparing for hopefully no snow this Friday.
There's no salt in the sand that you're using in the county?
Yes, there is.
Oh, there is some salt in there?
Yes, the
So
city
there-
mixes that.
Well, the city mixes it for us.
Yep. Yeah, they have a building that they store the sand and the salt in, and then we hauled sand from Dunnick's, and then they have a contract with Lonnie Lowe. He's got a pit up by South Shore,
Yep.
and I think Rammel hauled in from there. So we were hauling in at the same time, and then they lay it out, mix salt in with it, mix it back up, and then they put it in their shed. And that's where we get our stuff from. So,
Good. Anyone else have any questions?
How's
for
the
Rick?
equipment holding up? Everything going good with the equipment?
not too bad. We've had a couple of motor graders with a few issues, but they're all fixed up and ready to go, so.
Good.
I saw a few snowplows laying on their side in the news report from out east.
Was that right?
And you guys just haven't learned how to drive yet, right?
Yeah,
All right,
that's not
very
good.
good. Let's go on, number 6, action to approve notice to bidders for highway supplies and weed chemicals. This involves you, but we just need the action to approve the notice for the bidders, and I'll take that.
Make that motion.
I have a motion by Hatton, a second by Waterman. Any discussion? And you know that process?
Yep.
Okay, good. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, let's go on then to number 7, action to approve disposal of surplus highway department items. And they are in your packet, I believe.
This is for used bridge plank that we don't hardly have any anymore. Most of it's been either sold or we've used it for different projects. We have old signposts that I'm going to use some for right-of-way signs this spring, and then we have people come in and want to buy them. Waverly Township is one because they did not get into the sign project, and then a few other people, they'll stop in and want them for different things, to birdhouses, to who knows what. And that's just to set a price on that stuff, so.
And this is a requirement of the Department of Legislative Audit that annually we declare these things surplus to be sold.
I'll make that motion.
We have a
I'll
motion by
second it.
Hatton. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
By Troy, Commissioner Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, thank you. Let's go on then to number 8 is action to approve resolution for annual road load limits. And Rick, when would these go on?
Well, it'll depend on the weather. Most of the
Yeah.
time, it's in the middle of March, and just depends on the weather. If it stays cold, it could be, the start of it could be set back, or if it warms up, it could be earlier.
It says on there from February 15th to May 1st.
Yep, so,
I'll make a motion to approve
We have a
that.
motion by Hatton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
By Gable. Any discussion? And those will be the same as they were last year, or they have been in the previous years.
yep, and
Those
this,
low limits.
and this is to have the highway patrolman
Assist.
assist in enforcing the load limits, so.
You bet. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, thank you,
Thanks,
Rick.
Rick.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back up to Welfare Department. Sarah, good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning, Sarah.
Morning. Does anybody need the handouts? Did everybody get those? Does anybody need them?
They should all have them.
Yep, we have them.
I'll start with the welfare report. So we had this would be for October stuff. We had housing costs of $220. Otherwise, everything else was savings. We do, if you'll notice on the people served, we had 2 burials. The one was approved. It'll show up on the next month's report. Sometimes the timing of when we help that person and when the bill comes through. There were 9 people, utilities and housing, both 9 people each and stuff. So that was our major type of services. We did have 5 for homeless, so we've been seeing an increase in that. The different services provided, again, housing and economic assistance and utilities are the largest, and then you can see the referral to services. And the prescription card program, we did get in contact with them because we haven't been receiving updates, and they've had some technical issues, and those are resolved. So hopefully, they said within a couple of weeks we should be getting an update of that through December on that. Basically, what I was going to talk about is just share with you a client, and this client that I'm going to share with is going to talk about, is going to show how it touches the different services too that we're looking at too, because down on the agenda we also have the lease agreement and the deflection program. What I want to paint the picture of is that there's different points of entry for different people, and it's important to have safety nets at those different entries. So when they do fall, we can pick them up, especially the people we work with mental illness. We had a client that we first met in June, was working with the Beacon Center, had been housed through them and then needed some additional help. That individual disappeared for a while, reappeared in end of October. The individual was released from jail, was homeless. So at that time, we collaborated, I would say Angela took the lead on that, collaborated with the probation officer, Matt in the jail, and HSA to hook the individual up in services. The individual was placed in the apartment room that we have. We were able to secure permanent housing, but this individual has severe mental illness, symptoms of schizophrenia with paranoia. So that can be quite complicated when you've got that paranoia. We were working to put services in place. We were watching as the individual deteriorated significantly during this time. We lost contact several times with this individual, but was always able to reconnect. But the individual was lost by the probation officer, and we just thought, oh no. But she did resurface through the deflection program. There was a referral through that, and so then Sunny and Angela were able to work together. I mean, we went from this person 1 week loving us, the next week hating us, type thing, and that's just part of that illness. Angela worked to Sunny was able to reconnect. We were all able to work together. We had team meetings with probation officer Angela, Sunny, and myself to work to collaborate and reconnect services. And just really, that individual now has been reconnected, is permanently housed at this time. But I bring this up about the different paths. An individual with a mental illness, they don't follow a linear path. They require intensive case management, but it requires a lot of collaboration. I think that one time we had at least 8 different people involved just to try to help coordinate services. I do want to compliment the probation officers because they actually helped her move furniture. we call them, hey, we got a couch, can you help her? But she's very happy right now. But the importance of it was we need to meet people where they're at to work with them. We understand that they're going to fall, especially when that mental illness acts up. But we also need those safety nets in places. And this is a good, we're getting there. We're doing it. These different programs have all done that. So just wanted to share that. I mean, I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but we keep having those. The more safety nets we have, the more possibilities, potential to get those services. The individual right now is housed. She did get reconnected with the care. Angela made sure to do that, and with different groups she's working with too. So it'll take an army to help an individual like that, but at the same time, it's worth it. So
That's great.
So with her housing, permanent housing now, her ongoing costs, who is taking care of that?
We, because she has a felony on her record, she's not eligible for housing. So what we had to do is, and this is where the case management piece for us comes in, is we had to work to see where we could find something that's affordable for her. And that's, if you have a severe mental illness, that's very overwhelming. You're just trying to manage your day. So we have a place where she's at that will be affordable, and as long as she continues to meet with us, we can work with her to make sure she makes those ends meet. So what we had to do, obviously if you're not on housing, the individual's on disability, and obviously if you're not on housing, you can't get on housing, your cost of your housing is going to be a little bit more. So we're working with the different food pantries, the different areas to make sure that she's got that food, because she's not going to have as much, because with disability the income is just high enough that your food stamps is very minimal, and it's unearned income. So that you get from that resource is not enough to cover. So we did that. We've got her on energy assistance to reduce that. We were able to get the landlord to reduce the rent just a little bit. So she should be able to maintain. Is it going to be easy? No. Is she going to be able to have anything extra? No. She doesn't have cars.
She's going to survive.
Yep. And but she is also connected right now to work with. They're starting to work with Voc Rehab to see if she can get a little bit of employment.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if she had employment. Also, like with ICAP, with they're truly homeless, they qualify there, but then if she has a felony, then that adds that level.
She wouldn't have qualified
Because of disability?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, so Sarah, if you look at who's case managing this individual, is there kind of a case manager with you guys on the welfare side, and then somebody at HSA or a CSO that's making sure she's getting to her appointments and things?
Yeah, Angela kind of takes the lead. So we sat down and had a meeting, and Angela takes the lead to follow up with the different agencies. So if she does fall, like for example, doesn't make an appointment, she does reconnect. Angela will kind of reach out to that individual and communicate. So at that point, and the probation officer communicates to us. Matt from the jail, if she ends up back there, has communicated to us. So it's just ongoing communications with everybody. And Brent, I just want to back up. We always look at ICAP first, but sometimes it's just not feasible. What happens with the ICAP program, partly there is it has to meet what HUD defines as affordable. In most of the places here in Watertown, a lot of them don't. So even if we could do that, because we looked at that ESG, because she is disabled, that's a potential. But we find it can be awful difficult sometimes to actually
There's
access that
guidelines.
program.
Yep, and that's set by federal government. so-
Yep, and she had already utilized the other program. She had gotten a deposit, gotten in. Basically, her felony was just hanging around people kind of using her a little bit.
Typical.
But just to back that up on there, so. Lee, did I answer your question as well?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
All right, is there any other questions for Sarah? Okay, let's go on then, and number 9 is action to renew the behavioral health deflection pilot program contract for 1 year, and there is a copy of that in the packet. Sarah, you wish to expound on that?
Yeah, the contract's the same as it was last year. I apologize. I didn't bring an
Say it
actual
is.
copy of the contract because it's no different than what it was prior. Just brought up the updated stats that we had. It is 30,000 is what's budgeted for 2019. That's a little bit over the cost, but if we need the ability to expand, we want to have that there. There's no changes that we're foreseeing in the actual original contract. Just a reminder that the program, it targets people with behavioral health, or I wrote mental health, but behavioral health contexts that don't lead to arrest and that are cleared on scene, that aren't connected to services. Sunny will follow with people that are connected to services just to make sure, especially if there's a hold, do you recall your appointment type thing, because a lot of times that's a pretty traumatic moment. You get released, you still may not remember that. So she does follow through, see if anybody has questions, just to make that contact to make sure they don't fall. After that contact, law enforcement refers to the program, and then the program works to involve people with the services. Once they're stabilized, for example, to follow up with this individual we're working with, once she's considered stable, basically Angela won't lead that anymore. It'll be the services to which that individual is working. That's the long-term goal. Since the program started, 288 referrals were from the police department, Watertown Police Department. 51% were what we call viable contacts. It means they're not juvenile. We're still tracking the juvenile for the JDI if they want that information, and that they provided valid contact information. A lot of times people provide numbers that maybe the next day aren't in service or weren't valid. And out of those viable contacts, 43% of those people received services, and there were 76 different services provided. And on the back page of that tells you the difference, just breaks down the different services, with mental health being the most on that. And then you've got housing right behind that. And a lot of times housing and the food and the income supports and benefits.
The thing is, I guess we need motions before there's any discussion, so.
Any questions in reference to that? Commissioner Gable,
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
go ahead.
What was the actual cost in 2018? I know it was, as I recall, it was a bit less than budgeted.
Yeah,
do you know what it was?
Uh,
I'm going to have Cindy look that up real quick. 'cause-
Cindy is punching buttons here. She'll have that number in a minute.
Say we have 30,000 budgeted.
Does that come out of your budget?
Yes, that's in my budget.
The budget was 30,000, and that's what it is for 2019 as well.
That's what the,
Right. But I know, I was curious about the actuals, if that's the actual expense on that line item. Because I thought it came out significantly less, or at least noticeably less.
yeah, they only charge us for the hours that they provide services, so we're not charged if they don't provide. I do keep a running total. I just don't have it on me at the moment, but I've got Cindy looking that up. I don't want to, I look at so many numbers, I don't want to spout off the wrong one.
So you have 76 services provided. That would be individual, 76 out of the 288, or could that be multiple?
Multiple.
People using multiple. So we don't really know of those 288 how many actually did this. You have percentages.
Yeah, we
but-
can do that. I mean, yeah, I think we could pull the number of people that get services.
And then is it just one time?
It's 40 if you did the math. So you've got, it's not just, if you did the math, you took you know, if you've got 51% are viable out of those 43%, that would give you the numbers, so.
I just wasn't sure if they're multiple, then
Not the
Not
full,
actual.
not, well, actually, the 43% of the people receive services out of the viable contacts. So if you did just a quick 144 and half of those, it's about 76. 70, well, but that still is the services provided. So let me double check those numbers. Maybe we're not counting multiple. We might be, we're just using the Excel, and sometimes what's difficult with Excel, we keep track of the different services, but it's hard for the Excel to do a graph of multiple. So let me follow up on that to see if it's 76 people. It might not be tracking the second, third, and fourth type of services, but just the main type.
one person may qualify for several of these things.
Multiple. different-
Yes.
So then also, where was I going with this? We don't know then if they continue on either. Maybe just a one-time thing. We don't know if they continue their services to.
You mean once they're passed off? I can tell you what services, we can look at each individually one and say how many services Sunny provided. Sunny won't close them out until they're established and safe at that point. But once they're connected to those services, we're not going to follow up with Watertown Housing and say, are they on housing? But the individual is able to contact Sunny if they have that need again.
My reasoning for that is this working? I mean, what's happening to these individuals once they're connected? Is this actually a viable sort of program that we're putting money into?
I believe it is, and partly is these individuals would just be floundering around in the systems, and then what happens is that anxiety gets built up, and then you have multiple contacts with law enforcement. This gives law enforcement somebody to refer them to who knows the different services to connect them to work them with. It's no different than when someone comes in our office. We do the same thing, is once we get them connected to services, we don't keep them ongoing, but we hope that we do tell them if something comes up, call us back. So I don't know how you would ever track the multiple, because there's so many services that you would use. I would say, yes, the example that we gave with that individual, if we didn't have the deflection program, she wouldn't have got picked back up, not referred. And we've seen multiple referrals all the time. The most difficult ones, a lot of times probably may not. There's some that just, they're not interested in it, but we're catching a lot of people before it gets to crisis. We look at some of the case notes, it could even just be early onset dementia, but the officers have somebody to refer to connect those people to those services. If you're just mainstream, you may not understand what services, what options you have, but a lot of times if you might pick up 2 clients in one setting because you have maybe one individual that's suffering an illness, well, that impacts the caregiver as well. So they're both looked at and they're both picked up. They have the ability to call back. She does track that. We didn't pull the people that just initiate calls. So she is getting people that initiate calls to her now, as opposed to going to the police department on that. So yes, I would say the program's working. Troy, I don't know.
And I think we're going to see those numbers increase as officers become more familiar with the deflection program and stuff. So I do. I think it's a valuable program. We've had this discussion in the past, and it gives us an option out on the street at 2:30 in the morning when we're dealing with somebody and they have no place to go or anything. I mean, what resources do we have for these people? And this is an outlet for that. So thanks for your work on that.
I have one question. When you're out on the street at 2:30 in the morning, you can call Sunny at that time?
No, she's only part-time.
That's
This is
what I
just a
thought.
part-time, but you get to follow up later as opposed to having nothing. I mean,
But it's an option.
yeah.
It's an option that we wouldn't have if she wasn't there.
But during the daytime, I do know when she is, the contract was only for part-time, and during the daytime, there are times she does now have a cell phone. Police officers will contact her, and sometimes she can meet them directly on site. So that is something that we've expanded on that a little bit, and she's able to do that on her hours. But the contract is part-time.
Okay, I think Cindy has a number over here.
The amount we paid in 2018 was $15,605.79.
Commissioner Gable, did you hear that?
I did, thank you.
Okay, that was your question, I believe, wasn't it?
Yep, it was. Yep, thank you.
About half of what the budget, a little over half of what we had budgeted, so that's good. Any other questions in regards to this for Sarah?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, we have a motion by Gable, a second by Van Dusen. Any more discussion?
I just have one thing to say.
Go ahead, Charlie.
About this deflection program. I've personally been involved at different scales and with at least 3 individuals for sure. And it's frustrating when you're trying to do something, as I'm sure Troy can attest to, and I can say that Sarah and Angela have stepped up and done a great job on both counts.
Okay, all right, thank you for the discussion, good discussion, appreciate that. It helps all of us. Let's see, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. All right, let's go on then to number 10, which is in your packet. That's the agreement, a lease agreement with Walford Properties for the homeless individuals. And Sarah, you wish to expound on that?
Yeah, just at this time, Angela's doing intensive case management with 5 individuals. Through this, we started, it just kind of developed on its own. We started working with people that were homeless. I have a hair like floating here. Okay. Sorry, that was getting my eyes.
You're tickled, huh?
She's currently doing intensive case management with 5 individuals that kind of maybe started out with this program. Some we were able to get through that, but we started working with Walford just because it is an affordable place. The majority of individuals we're working with do come out of the jail, so they have some sort of criminal background and are limited on where we can place them and limit on income. She works with people that are the homeless. Through this, it gives us a place to put somebody to be able to work with them, to sit down and review the whole picture, give the best options, and then work through the barriers and develop a plan. And she really does a lot of times helps to advocate for people, especially if they're risk at being homeless. Sometimes it's just a matter of the services having to be at the same time. For example, you get one program that has to have a signed lease agreement in order for it to work, and the other one, if you have a signed lease agreement, you're no longer eligible, but oftentimes you need both programs. So it's having somebody to help coordinate those, that those are done in the right order in a way so that a person can be housed. It's the target population for this is single adults, so it's not families, because we do feel that that's where the gap is single adults. There aren't any services out for them, and then they can get housed while we work with them through those barriers. It's a very minimal cost. There is in there we asked if they were willing to do any cleaning, if there was any need for extraordinary cleaning and removal of occupants, their items and stuff, that they would be willing to go in and do that, and they are. And then at that time too, if a lock doesn't get changed, we looked into the option of a keypad, but it doesn't work on those doors, so we would just reimburse the cost to change keys if a key wasn't returned back. So it's very similar to what we did with the Salvation Army a couple years ago. The difference is we do have that ongoing case management component piece, so which we didn't have it very well before. There just was too much and not that. So.
Okay, you heard the request.
Make a motion to
Motion
approve.
by Hanton, second by
I'll second it.
Commissioner Gable. Any discussion?
There may be another location.
I had a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, so as on the agreement itself, has the state's attorney taken a look at this one?
Yep.
Make sure.
Yes, thank you for that. I forgot to bring that up. Yes, Tom Burns reviewed this, and he does agree with it. So yes, he has looked at it.
And the second question is, so there's a budgeted amount for this? I'm guessing you'd have the $400 a month, and then I guess what you think the extra costs would be.
I had budgeted in the homeless rental. We have, I think, 5,000 budgeted, but would have the ability to take out some of from the rental budget if we need to, if we go over. So this kind of fell together. We just started working with them, and then they were, we placed somebody, and we kind of started working with this idea. It just kind of all came together. So there is at least the portion for the cost of the rent, the additional we do have within the rental budget itself, the housing budget that we have to cover that.
All right, I do, Cindy did check on this, it is $5,000 in the budget. Our state's attorney is sitting in the audience here, and when you asked if the state's attorney had reviewed the contract, she said she kind of shrugged her shoulders. Should we...
Tom Burns had reviewed it.
Oh, Tom Burns?
Tom's my liaison for my
Okay.
office. That's who I
Okay.
go through.
All right,
Tom
just
Burns.
clarify that then. Thank
So,
you.
yes.
There is a termination clause in there, so we do have that option at the end of every month 10 days prior. So if this is something that we don't continue to carry on, it can be terminated. It's one room, basically. One individual can be served at a time.
Yes.
And for those that don't know where that's considered a palace hotel.
Yes.
Or motel, hotel, whatever it is.
Apartments.
Palace Apartments, all right. All right, any more discussion? Any more discussion? We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
she just reviewed this and doesn't have any problems, as I understood it.
Sounds like being put on the spot, right? Yeah, you got 2 minutes to review it?
Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
okay, Harley?
Aye.
You all right with it?
I'm all
Okay.
right with that. Yes, I am.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, thank you. Let's go on then to number 11. That's the action to set indigent burial fees. And I see we have a couple of our distinguished guests in the audience here, a couple of our people from our funeral homes. Sarah, you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, at this time, I do recommend keeping the rates the same. As far as the burials, $39.52 for a traditional burial, $25.75 for cremation. We do pay the cost to the city for the opening and closing of the grave, which is $656, and then in turn they give us the plots at no charge. We did get a new indigent burial the statewide, and I think if you guys reviewed that, Cottington County still has the highest of a regular burial. I think the second highest would be 3,000, and those were kind of increased based.
I'd like to make a comment on that. Actually, Roberts County is at 3,600.
Okay.
We have Grant at 3,100, and there are several that are at 3,000, Brookings, Clark, Day, Harding, Minnehaha, and Sully. We have been at this amount since 2009
Yep.
in Cottington.
And it's still the highest in the state. And then I did send out with you guys the NACO report of the indigent burials that they had, the December 18th edition. For example, if you look at statewide, then our costs run about the same population as other counties. And if you look nationwide, for example, Sullivan County has a population of 157,000, and with that, their cost of their burials went from $44,000 to $10,000 a year. It's a really good article that kind of describes what different counties do. They did highlight that even the county of Fairfax, Virginia, which is the wealthiest the county, they have an indigent burial, which the average income in that area households is $116,000, but they do pay $4,000 per burial there. But if you look at the rates of the different counties, most of them are significantly less than nationwide than what we're paying for that. So I do make the recommendation to keep the rates at the same.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Hatton.
I'll second.
Second by Gable. Discussion. I would take the privilege, we do have Mr. Comus and Mr. White in the audience here. Would you like to make any comments in reference to our burial policy that we have and what we are talking about right here today?
It's on, yeah.
No, I guess we're just here to witness what you guys are talking about this morning. It was not our intent at all for you to raise them. We feel privileged to live in Cottington County with the rate the way it is, and having the highest allowance is fine. There are some other counties that are starting to get closer to where we are, which, some counties are paying the same for cremation as well as our traditional funerals. Some of the mix of a traditional funeral with cremation to follow, some of those have distinguished the difference with those because there is more expensive funeral service involved. And I guess my comment would be, I know we discussed probably within the last year more of the where do you go to who becomes eligible to pay. So there probably is not a discussion about that other than the renewal of the amounts at this meeting. So, my concern is where we at with that other part. Maybe you guys have discussed that. We didn't hear about it at all, or didn't have any.
I don't think we actually have taken any action on that yet, Maury. We need to probably do that.
The nuts and bolts.
The nuts and bolts of who is responsible for that.
Yeah, we're basically referring to the dollar amount here or the contract. But I appreciate you chiming in, and I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine, Mr. Johnson. We actually this past year we did have a few county approved ones, which hadn't happened quite so easily. It seems like from a few years prior to this year, or this past year. So, maybe some of the thought process that's going into it has changed, or maybe it's just the coincidence that they were just downright eligible to receive those benefits. So we appreciate that.
You bet. It's just not Cottington County. It's nationwide. I'm reading some information in reference to indigent burials. We're lucky. There are some counties that don't have room for their burials anymore, and they've had to go out and buy land and convert them into cemeteries so they would have their own, so they would be sure of having a place for burials. So it's an ongoing thing all over the country, and it's too bad, but that's a society that we live in now. All right, we've had some good discussion here. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you. All right, let's go on to number 12, then action to approve purchase of a license for document management system for the facilities manager.
Milo gave me some background on this. This is a system that I use in my office. We use it for a number of things. We use it for jail confinement. We use it for court-appointed attorneys. We use it to scan vouchers so that we're reducing the amount of paper that we have to keep. Milo would like authorization to piggyback off of my system. The estimated cost is $3,000 plus a document scanner. This will allow him to scan his documents and find his invoices that he submitted for payment easier and better manage his budget and his ordering of supplies.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A motion by Hanton, second.
Second.
Second by Charlie Waterman. Sorry, Lee. Discussion. My question would be, is that in Milo's budget then?
Yes.
Okay, it is in his budget.
Yeah.
All right.
What is the cost usually of the scanner? Is that pretty minimal?
Not a lot. I mean, you can get scanners anywhere from $250 to $1,500, depending on the size and the capacity. So,
Sounds like it's a management thing. so,
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Any other questions? Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 13, action to approve the auditor's account with the treasurer and note the register of deeds fees, and those are in your packet.
The Register of Deeds fees for the month of December were $20,549. The auditor's account with the treasurer shows you the cash and cash items on hand as of the last day of the year in 2018, shows you where our checking account balances were, and then the balances in the general fund, special revenue, trust and agency funds, which is the money we pay out to the schools, the townships, the cities, and the towns.
Move to approve those.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Thank you, Cindy. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, number 14, action to approve operating cash transfers as budgeted.
These were items that were included in the 2019 budget. We just need to take action to transfer the cash, which was budgeted in the general fund, and it was budgeted for several other funds, for the Road and Bridge Fund, $476,474. Emergency Management Fund, $173,299. The Victims of Crime Fund, $81,480,000, and the WIC Fund, $12,504. And while these funds do generate some of their own revenues, they do not generate enough to fully fund their budget. And in the instance of the Highway Department, it's allow us to have a small surplus in case of an emergency.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Van Duzen, a second by Hatton. Any discussion? Any discussion? Thank you for that explanation, Cindy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now, number 15, item number 15, action to authorize the auditor to sign a combined election agreement for Watertown School and Watertown City 2019 elections. And that agreement is in your packet.
The city and the school are required by the first part of the year, if they want to combine their elections for the coming year, they have to take action at their board meetings. The only reason the county is almost a third party in this is because they use my ballot counting equipment. So that's the only reason I'm involved in it. The state's attorney did review this, and she had no problems with it. I reviewed it myself. We changed a little bit of the wording to take some of the responsibility off of my office for the number of ballots that they should be ordering. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? I noted our state's attorney's head was bobbing up and down as indicating, yes, she had reviewed the contract, so that has been done. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 And that was Commissioner Gable that you heard. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 16 is action to approve memorandum of understanding between Cottington County and SDSU for the provision of cooperative education program development, which would be in your packet. And this agreement is the same as the one that we have had in the past, I'm going to say what, 4, 5 years, 3, 4 years?
At least that. There is a slight increase this year of $584, and that would be based on the salary that SDSU pays the 4-H advisor.
And just for clarification, we do split the salary, but SDSU pays all of the benefits. And that's...
Well, and her salary is paid entirely by SDSU.
Yeah,
we pay SDSU a flat amount.
we reimburse that.
We pay them $20,020.
Make a motion to go ahead and approve that MOU between Cottington County.
We have a motion
Second.
by Van Dusen, a second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? This agreement has worked out well in past years, so Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, let's go on to number 17, action to set compensation for election judges for 2019.
The current rate that I'm paying judges of election is $150 per election. They also receive $50 for attending the election school that I'm required to put on before the election. My recommendation is to leave this the same for 2019. I don't anticipate, any county elections in 2019, but there is a possibility, so we always have to budget for it in what we call the off year.
Move to approve those.
A motion by Hatton,
Second.
a second by Gable. Any discussion? Did all of you see that flash?
Yes.
Good. I just was hoping it wasn't just me.
The light's flickering.
The light's flickering. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, let's go on and to number 18, action to set coroner's compensation. And currently, what are they getting? Or what is he getting?
Currently, the coroner and any deputies that he would appoint are paid $175 per investigation plus mileage for traveling to the site if they submit that.
Move to approve.
And this is the same amount that we budgeted or that we paid in 2017 and 2018.
Move to approve that amount. We did have to reimburse that budget, but did we
did
that?
increase the budget also for 2019 because of the number of calls that we were looking at, so.
And I think was there a motion to approve that?
Brenda made a motion to.
Motion by Hatton, second.
I'll second.
A second by Gable. Any discussion? I think the discussion, we tried to figure out why this budget or why it had escalated, and we came to the decision that this was just the layman's observation is that people are tending to spend more time in their homes, the elderly, and they're hanging on until they pass away in their homes. And a lot of times they're there by themselves, and when it's a non-attended death, we have to have the coroner then on the scene. So that's why that happens. That does cause the expenses to run up. What really causes them to run up is if we have to have an autopsy. That's when it gets expensive. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have discussion action to set compensation for planning and weed board appointees. And we have in your packet a roster of the county planning board, and that happens to be Mark O'Neill, Mel Reese,
Well,
Robert
the
Fox.
first thing
order.
is,
Yeah, we're
the first
on,
thing is for their
compensation.
wages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
their wages.
And I don't know if you've had any discussion with any of the other, with the zoning board or the weed board on increasing their monthly, or the amount that they receive for attending a meeting is what it is. I
We
believe it's
increased
40.
that.
I don't know for sure.
I
That's
think
why I
we
put it
did,
on.
if I remember right, we did increase that in the budget for 2019, didn't we?
No, I mean, last year or something was
Last year we
prior.
increased it, yeah.
Okay.
It's not, it's,
But it's like $35 a meeting.
No, wait a minute. Hang on. Let me get to there.
Well, didn't that come at the recommendation of our weed director?
Yeah.
To increase that?
Planning, the weed board and planning compensation, you set at $35 per
Plus-
meeting
plus
last year.
mileage.
But I don't see that was an increase. It's been 35 for a few years,
Plus mileage.
plus mileage, yeah. So if it's something you want to discuss and hold off
That's
on,
what
I
it
can
was,
delay
the
this.
offsite
If you
meetings.
want to talk about increasing that, I can delay this until you can talk to the weed supervisor and the zoning officer. Yes.
Commissioner Waterman.
The confusion and was just thinking back was not for the increase in money per meeting, but to approve monies for the weed board people to go to off-site meetings.
Yeah, because they had to take time off from
Or
work
annual
and stuff.
meetings that will be held.
Yeah, I believe you're right,
Yeah.
Commissioner Waterman. I think that's right. What is the wishes of the board?
I would say, we haven't heard anything, so I would say to go ahead and approve it at this amount. There
All
has
right,
been
is that
no
a motion?
discussion. That's a
A
motion.
motion by Hatton, a second by Waterman. All in favor indicate by saying, well, any discussion? Any discussion first?
Yes,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, we got Mark O'Neill and we got Mel Reese, but these are dated 12/31/18.
Oh, we're not to that point yet.
No.
That's the next item.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right now, we're just setting monthly
Yeah.
wages.
Okay.
Yep.
Meeting compensation.
yeah, we're on the wages yet.
Point of order corrected. Thank you.
You bet. Well, I was wrong too. I was jumping ahead too. I was getting excited
So the
here.
motion and second we have is to leave the meeting fee at
Leave the
$35.
wages
Plus
Yeah.
mileage.
$35 plus mileage.
If they're a certain amount, it's got to be out in the country, so.
Outside the city limits,
Any
yes.
more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, now the one that Commissioner Waterman and I have been after is a discussion action to appoint members of the Planning and the Weed Board and the 4-H Promotion and Expansion Committee. In your packet, you have a
sorry.
copy of the
Excuse me.
Planning Board.
Do we need to set, was the weed and the planning the same?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
I just
And-
received a text from Steve, and he said the amount was $100 for a day-long meeting that I
Okay.
think we must have approved.
the County Planning Board consists of Mark O'Neill, Mel Reese, Robert Fox, Brenda, Charlie Rosso, and Rodney Klatt. And then I serve on that board as the liaison from the commission.
I had a discussion with Luke Muller this morning, and he indicated that the two gentlemen whose terms expire at the end of December of 2018 have agreed to continue serving, which are Mark O'Neill and Mel Reese. So I
Yep.
just need a motion to reappoint those two.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to reappoint the Plan Board. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, let's go on to the, next one in my pile.
The Weed Board.
Is the Weed Board, and I don't have a copy of the Weed Board. That was the Plan Board.
I think we received that in an email.
Nothing in my packet.
You should have, but anyway, the Weed Board,
Go ahead and
did
read
you
it.
get, you have one, Troy?
Yeah.
Okay, you should have had
I
it
can hand
then.
that over to Mr. Johnson.
My copier did fail on me halfway through this, so. The Weed Board, the two gentlemen whose terms expired at the end of December were Jim Thean and Brett Henricks. I have not heard from the weed supervisor on whether these two gentlemen want to continue with that position. So we may have to postpone this
Postpone that.
until I can talk to the weed supervisor.
I think
Unless
that's
you,
what we should do.
okay,
we'll
so we'll just
postpone that.
skip over that one.
Yep. Okay, let's go to the 4-H Promotion and Expansion Committee, and I sit on that board as well, and Ms. Holinka and Ms. Ordhaus and Mose, Rick Holinka, Jill Ordhaus, Lynette Mose, Boys and Girls Club Team, Boys and Girls Club Team, another Boys and Girls Club Team, and Mercedes Zemlicka and Jill Arneson and Kyle Tian, Jill Ordhaus, Rick Holine, and then myself.
So there are three positions whose terms expire. That would be Marissa Holinka, Rick Holinka, and Mercedes Zemlicka. And I have not heard from Jody on the status of that, so this may be another one we need to just postpone.
Let's postpone it for a later meeting, all right? Once we get a confirmed listing. All right, thank you. Let's go on to the item number 21, and that comes back to us, and that's the appointment of board committees
And liaisons.
and liaisons. And we received this breakdown here a couple of weeks ago.
Actually, this is the one that we're
Oh,
referencing in this one, so you
all
should
right,
have
this
that
was
one.
the old
That
one.
was
that I
Doug's
had.
copy.
Yeah,
That's the old copy. Go to the new copy, the one that's in your packet.
yep. Lee prepared this one last year after you made your final.
All right. Everyone had a chance to review it?
Mr. Chairman, so the one I'm looking at, it's the one that says 2018 appointments at the top.
That's the one that we're looking at as well. I did have the old one up here, but I was corrected and I have the new one now. All right, that's the one that we're looking at, the 2018 Commission Liaison and Board Duty Appointments. Is there anyone that wishes to not continue on the current board or as a liaison? If not,
I'd make a motion to continue as is to basically.
we have a motion
make these
by
appointments.
Commissioner Gable to continue with the
I'd second
appointments
that
as
motion.
is. And a second by Commissioner Waterman.
I have a question or a comment. When it comes to the LEPC board, Charlie and I are on that. Do you wish to continue being on there? I've been at all the meetings. You have not attended, so I didn't know if that's something you want to be on or not. If we're on these boards, I really feel it's pertinent that we should be going to these
Why
meetings.
don't the LA Emergency Planning Committee, which is, yeah, I think I'd like to be removed from that board.
Okay,
I can amend my motion if that's the preference.
Yes, you could. Why don't you go ahead and amend your motion?
So I'll make the motion so that the LEPC, the change would be to approve as is with the change of only showing Brenda on the LEPC committee.
Correct, and I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second on the amendment to the motion. Is there any discussion? Does anyone want to replace Commissioner Waterman?
That can be an item for further discussion too, if it comes to it.
All right, we can do that. At this point in time, I will cross Commissioner Waterman off. Any more discussion on the amendment? Any more discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We will,
Well, then we need to act on, do we need to act on Lee's original motion to approve the roster? Or did the amendment take care of the whole thing?
I meant to amend my motion, but it kind of worked out. I think we probably should
Go
approve
back
the
to
original.
approve
Go
the
back to the
original.
original.
The
Okay.
amended motion.
Motion by Gable, second by Waterman to approve the roster.
right, yes.
All right, so we need to vote on that.
Okay, you heard the explanation. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, are we okay there? Okay, let's go on then to item number 22, delinquent property tax list available for review.
The treasurer has provided me with a list of the delinquent property taxes at the end of 2018. They are available. They are in hard copy. They're available for your review. You just need to let me know if you want to see those.
All right, this was primarily just for our information. By the way, I did sit down and talk to the Ann, the treasurer, a while back, and we are charging the maximum interest on delinquent tax payments as we can, but it's set by state. And I just didn't want some people saying, well, the county isn't charging, I can just pay the delinquent, go borrow the money if I have to later on. It's cheaper interest at the bank than it is here. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that, and we are charging the maximum, and I don't know what that amount is. She told me, but I don't recall. So, all right, that was for information. Let's go on then to number 23, action to approve the change order for the courthouse remodel project. Commissioner Gable, do you have any for us today?
No, there are none. Just to let you know, Mr. Chairman, there are a couple that I think are in the works. One is probably some IT adjustments on some of the audiovisual stuff in the courtroom. That one will probably be payable through the court or the law library fund, so that's a court fees thing, not tax dollars. And then the other one, probably going to be a security wall modification or extension. We're working with the sheriff and the court and working out the access to the judges' chambers. So that's probably coming down the pike.
All right. And I don't know, I'm sure you heard earlier when I said I encourage everybody to stop and take a look in there. It's really coming along nicely. And I don't know when the final walkthrough will be, but it must be getting relatively close. Good. Let's go on then. Number 24, action to approve claims for payment. Cindy, you want to share anything that stands out?
On page 1, we have our annual fee for First District hosting the website for our GIS, and that is $3,100. Also on page 1 in the judicial systems budget, we have a claim for $2,145.36. Those are for chairs, I believe for the new courtroom. Do you know, Lee?
Yeah, I think that is for the new courtroom.
Okay.
But I'd have to, I'm pretty sure. But by the way, just on that, never mind. I'll talk about it in new business.
Okay. On page 3, we have our court-appointed attorney budget. The total claims for the first month of the year are $23,000. Let's hope that number goes down, or we will be supplementing that budget again. We did have one large case in there for almost $13,000, so hopefully we'll see a reduction in those. In the government buildings budget on that page, we have payments of $41,047.51 plus $5,021.39. That is to Wells Fargo Bank. That was for a project we undertook 15 years ago to update the heating and cooling and lighting in this building. We have 2 payments left on this project after this one, so we are almost paid off on that. It amounts to about $90,000 a year. On page 4, in the Director of Equalization budget, there's a bit of an error there. That payment for $6,000, it said website hosting, but it is not the website hosting, it is the parcel update system. So that's a different thing. Also on page 4, we appropriated $30,000 for Watertown Area Transit in 2019. They have requested that payment. On page 7, the Watertown Volunteer Center requested $2,500 in 2019. They are being paid this month. On page 9, we budgeted $45,000 for the Watertown Development Company. They are requesting their allotment this month. The Beacon Center on page 11, that is the amount that we pay out based on the fees that are collected for the quarter through marriage license sales, domestic abuse fines, that type of thing, and the board has designated those funds to go to the Beacon Center. And the total claims this month are $757,713.93. Of that amount, $343,103.72 goes to the state of South Dakota for motor vehicle collections.
Move to approve
All
those
right, we have a
claims.
motion by Hatton to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Pay
Going
the
to number
bills.
25, action to approve automatic budget supplements. We shouldn't have.
I have nothing for 25 or 26.
27, action to approve travel requests. I have none. Is
I
there-
did receive one. It was from the
Oh, yeah, I did
Emergency
have one.
Management Director, and he's requesting authorization to attend a regional emergency management meeting in Aberdeen. It's a
I'll
one-day
make a
trip.
motion to
All right,
approve.
motion by Van Duzen, second by
Second.
Commissioner Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, let's go on to old business. Is there any old business, mature business that we need to discuss? Any old business? Once again, is there any old business? Seeing none, is there any new business?
I would just
Mr.
have,
Chairman, just a couple things.
Go ahead, Commissioner Waterman.
Yeah.
Waterman, Gable.
The JDAI meeting is today at noon at the school. I'll be attending by phone again, and I think so. Commissioner Van Dusen and I will be doing that one. And then on the one thing I was going to mention on the court remodel, just to make everybody aware, working with the sheriff and office peeps to buy that modular furniture that's going to go around the security checkpoint in the ground floor. So that's in the works. And we did budget for some furniture as part of the overall courthouse remodel. So, but just to let everybody know.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to report on a meeting that I was invited to attend yesterday at the library. It's in regards to the Benedictine Multicultural Center. The sisters are getting to the point that they need to put their focus towards taking care of their elderly sisters, so they're feeling like they're not able to keep this going on their own. Most of them are getting up in age, and so some of the things that what they do here is education, legal assistance, and a gathering place for immigrants. So they basically have put a plea out to the community to find partners to hopefully keep it going, but not solely on them. And so there's a group of individuals that will be working together to just see what direction this should go and who will be involved. So this is going to be an ongoing project, and so...
Is that just for the Multicultural Center?
Yes,
Brenda?
just the Multicultural Center is the, and some of the things, I guess, what they provide legal services, they do the DACA renewal, they do green card renewals, they're a liaison for clients and attorneys, they help them complete driver's license, they also do the ESL, English as a second language. So there's a multitude of things that they do to help the immigrants in our community, but some of the stakeholders that maybe haven't even been approached yet, that's going to be ongoing because these individuals are workers at dairies, cheese plants, different places like that that's bringing these in. And it's just an assistance that these folks need to be acclimated into our community. So this is an ongoing project, just letting you know that I'm involved just on this sort of a level to see how it goes.
What kind of money are they talking about as far as?
Well, to basically what they said is it's around $54,000 a year is kind of where they're at right now to keep it going. So that includes building plus insurance, and then for staff, but a lot of it is volunteers. So
54,000, is that the budget for a year for that?
yeah, basically
Facility?
that's what they said to keep it going.
Okay.
It was like $54,000.
That's not what
So-
they need to supplement their existing budget.
Yeah, and July 31st is when it's done. So something has to be, if we're going to keep it going immediately, something needs to be done before that deadline. And then after that, it will be a ongoing plan to see how this will go. Like there's urgent need, which is that, and then there's a long term to keep it sustainable. So
This was a project that was started by the sisters. They felt there was a need, and now they want the general public to come in and help. Is that correct?
it's because of their aging sisters. They're just not able to do it anymore because
Right.
of the age of what they're getting to be.
They have provided a great resource to our community. I know we've utilized them to help with translations or
They're used a lot. Clinics,
translations.
hospitals. There's a multitude. They're like they said they are very busy. They get calls all the time. So
Okay, good
Anyway.
luck with their efforts.
So
We wish them
just
well.
one more question. How are they funded now?
that wasn't really disclosed. So I'm not really sure about
Okay.
that.
Okay.
All right, any other new business? Seeing none?
Mr.
Is there anything?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
I just forgot one thing. I'm having a meeting tomorrow at 10 in the morning in the court space just to go over some of the IT details. I'll be attending by phone probably, but just FYI. So it'll be the contractor, the architect by phone, and the court books.
All right, okay. How about the open? Anything for the open today? Is there any any public comments? from anyone
Just a
on the-
note that the courthouse will observe the federal holiday next Monday, January 21st. All county offices and the courthouse will be closed.
All right,
And the press has been notified.
the press has been notified. Very good. Anything else for the open? Anything else for the open? All right, I do have a request for an executive session from the state's attorney, and this would be personnel, item number
To
1.
make a motion to go into executive session under
Let's see,
1.
Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we have a motion to go into executive session. Any discussion?
Second.
We need a second.
Need a second.
I'll second.
Second by Van Dusen.
Will there be any actions after executive
There's
session?
nothing on the agenda for action, so no.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in executive session. Thank you.